The space flight simulator again. So we are going to launch a rocket to the moon and back. So this is another tutorial. Um, so we are going to launch this rocket, to the moon. And in the previous episode, you saw that, we are going to launch a rocket to the, launch a rover to the moon. And, yeah. We started up the engines. And just as usual, we'll get up in the air here. And then, right about here is where you really want to tilt your rocket to get some of that orbital velocity started. You just want to keep slowly tilting your rocket. Not too much though, because it might cause problems during flight. Okay, side boosters, this separation. Let's get rid of those, we don't need them anymore. And turn the engines off. And now we are just going to drift along until we get to the warp point where we can start warping and doing all that. And one more kilometer to go. And alright. Once you reach the top of your apoapsis, you stop the warping, and then you ignite the engines to get into orbit, as shown here. There we go. And then what you want to do, like last time, set the moon as your target. And then you should see this. This is the ignition point. This glowing line right here is the ignition point where you want to start your engines. So let's just go to that launch point. And stop about there, that's good. We don't need this booster. Get rid of the pharynx because we don't need it anymore. And then there we go. We should be having, yeah, there it is. We're raising our, what is that? We're raising our apoapsis. And then as soon as it shows encounter, which should be in a little bit after this, you might want to decrease power in your engine as you move along. And over time, you should see an encounter right here. And then when you see that, you go over to the moon, and then you look at your pathway, which is what these lines are. And then from there, you want to decrease your power to not get the path going as fast. You want to slow down the path. You don't want it to go really fast. So it's going to make it harder to reach the moon. Well, it's going to make it harder for you where you want to go to be achieved. And I think that's better. And what I like to do is go below the warp point, so it increases the, so it just makes it easier to land. It just saves a lot of fuel and a lot of time doing it this way. And then you want to turn your rocket around to decrease speed, as shown here. Now, if you look at the top right corner, right here, you should see m/s. That means meters a second. And that's your speed. And it says velocity, 129 meters a second, and it's rising because, well, we're falling. And as soon as the fuel runs out, we're gonna decrease power. As soon as the fuel runs out, we're going to hit the next stage. We're going to decrease power here. I want to get rid of this fuel tank as quick as possible. And as you may have noticed, I now have skins on my spacecraft, because now I have the full version. Always pay attention to your speed when it comes to landings, because you want it to be less than 7 meters a second. Let's try slowing down a little more. Here we are going for a landing. And it should say, landed on moon surface. Now that we landed, we have quite a bit of fuel left. And we are now going to launch back into lunar orbit. And I always like to use this technique a lot. It really helps pass a lot of time. So I switched to a different rocket to allow me to reach that high point faster. Now we're getting into lunar orbit. It should say entered moon orbit because we didn't get into orbit last time. And that unstable orbit, it doesn't really matter because we're going to be leaving the moon really quickly. And you should always see this glowing line. That's always your sign that that's always where you want to go for the ignition. So if you don't go there, then it won't work. Now zoom out, and then you should see your pathway pop up like around here. And then from there, you want to try to encounter the Earth's atmosphere. As soon as you've done that, angle your capsule towards where you're falling so it slows you down. And that almost hit us. As soon as you enter the atmosphere, you should see your pathway decreasing very quickly. And as you can see there, right over there, the rocket's going nuts for some reason. Here we are. And you always want to pay attention to your speed right up here. You want to always pay attention to the speed so that you don't, so you can make sure you're going slow enough. And if you're going slower than 7 meters a second, that's the 6 meters a second is the maximum amount of speed the landing gears can take before they actually blow up. So that's something nice to know. And as you can see, we're losing height quickly, as you can see here. And after this video, we are going to do a Apollo 13 mission. I already have the Saturn V rocket built, so it would be nice if you check that video out as well. As soon as I get this one done, I'll make the Apollo anniversary episode. And also, pay attention to your height up here. Don't deploy your parachute too late. I didn't deploy the parachute too late. It's going to fully deploy on its own, and there it is, fully deployed. Now we are flying at a nice 3.0 meters per second. That's a nice speed. I like that. We're not falling too fast, but we're not falling very slow either. And the good news about these parachutes is that they're, well, big parachutes. They work very well. So, and touchdown. Alright, make sure you like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to comment. Bye.